Good morning, and thank you everyone for joining us for our fourth semi-annual career choice program. We're joined today by four lovely panelists who are passionate about what they do and participating, and as well as getting students involved in education. Pursuing a Dream, just a little bit about us. We were established in 2008 with the mission to steer African American students towards careers in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. And the ways we do this, we spread our word, is through social media, through our Facebook fan page, as well as through the Career Choice Program, which was established in 2010. This program aims to try to get students more involved with education and making an informed decision about their career choice. Today, we're joined by four panelists who are very committed to this. They are just that, they're volunteers. They're very compassionate about their careers and their love for helping students. So for right now, we're going to turn to them and let them introduce themselves. We'll start with Mrs. Barnes.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Lakia Barnes, and I work for the Corps of Engineers as a project engineer.
Good morning. I'm Dr. William Gordon at Howard University. I'm also very pleased to be here. I work in the Department of Biology there at Howard University.
Good morning, I'm Tanya Green. I am an audiologist and I work for the state of Maryland currently as a program chief for the state infant hearing program.
Hello, my name is Asuma Quanta. I'm a mathematician in the Department of Mathematics at Morgan State University.
And what you're going to experience today is that you're going to have panelists answering questions as it relates to careers, education, and community. So let's get it started. We'll start with Ms. Barnes. What steps are needed to obtain a degree in your profession?
I have a degree in civil engineering from here at Morgan State, and you have to be strong in math and science, specifically physics, which is the foundation for what we study. We take many maths, calculus 1, 2, and 3, and you have to be able to problem solve. You have to be able to have a mindset that's able to think out the box in order to figure things out and to be able to apply it practically in engineering at least. So that's where a lot of my foundation comes from for engineering related studies.
Dr. Gordon, same question. What steps are needed to obtain a degree in your profession?
My area of expertise is in biology, and as a consequence, I work in the biology department at Howard University. Many of the students who come to major in biology have a keen interest in medicine or biomedical sciences, and so we've devised a curriculum which requires them to be exposed to sciences and mathematics. Virtually all of the students have to take a certain number of courses in biology, but the support areas are chemistry and physics, and so they have to take general chemistry and organic chemistry courses, and they must take at least a year of physics. And in order to do that, they also would have to have a certain amount of mathematics background, which in our curriculum goes through two courses called college algebra and pre-calculus. We're going to be revising our curriculum very soon to require students to take calculus, because we're finding that most medical schools are now requiring at least one semester of calculus, and many are requiring a whole year of calculus. And so in addition to that, we encourage many of our students to try to have some sort of research experience as well, because we're finding that students who go to medical school and even students who go to graduate school are in fact enhanced by their exposure to research experiences as undergraduates.
Same question, Ms. Green.
In the field of audiology, things have changed since I came through. My master's I obtained in 1994, but since that time, at that time, that was the entry-level requirement into the field of audiology. However, over the years, things have changed, and now the entry-level requirement is a clinical doctorate degree. abbreviated as an AUD, or doctorate in audiology. It is a clinical doctorate degree, not a PhD, so we do make sure that we explain that. Generally, if someone holds that degree, they specify that it's a clinical degree and not a doctor of philosophy. So basically, the student would obtain a bachelor's degree and then move on to an AUD program, which skips the master's. There's no master's involved, but when they finish that program, generally it takes 4 years, they would graduate with a doctorate degree in audiology.
Dr. DeWanta?
Thank you. In mathematics, there are primarily 2 tracks to getting a degree in mathematics. That's applied mathematics and pure mathematics. And students who tend to go into applied mathematics are looking for ways to apply their mathematics to engineering or biology or to sports and entertainment. So there are many applications for which mathematics is useful. So applied mathematics is an area where you as a student would actually get a chance to see how your mathematics comes into real world situations. In that track, you would take your calculus sequence, you would take courses like linear algebra, differential equations, and statistics and probability. If you're interested in more or less the pure side of mathematics, what we mean by pure mathematics is that you're studying mathematics for the sake of creating new mathematics. And in creating new mathematics, you're coming up with new ideas, new techniques, and new methods for solving problems. And if you're sort of like me, who work in both areas, applied and pure, then you pretty much are going to be using the theoretical tools of mathematics, which involve courses like number theory, abstract algebra, differential equations at a higher level, and these would be more proof-based classes. But I would like to just suggest one thing in terms of mathematics. As you start into your career, develop the study habit and technique of solving problems, because this is where students run into the stumbling block, is that if you solve enough problems, you're going to be more comfortable with being exposed to new problems. So as the panel moves on, I'll discuss more in detail different aspects of pure and applied mathematics and combining the 2 disciplines.
Stay with me, Dr. DeWanta. What do you value most about your education?
What I value most about my education is the fact that I have the opportunity to work with young people. I really enjoy the fact that I can expose a raw mind to a new idea and then see the student blossom into a confident person who's solving new problems, who's exploring new ideas, and is motivated to learn more about the discipline. So that gives me a great joy about my area.
Ms. Green, what's your perspective on it? What do you value most about your education?
What I value most about my education is just having the opportunities to help people in various ways, to help them open doors that they may not have noticed could be open, that they thought were closed, touching lives, recognizing that everyone learns differently and figures things out differently. So being educated in a way that broadened my horizons, that allows me to help people, and in that way I value the most.
Dr. Gordon, what should be the primary focus in considering a college education in a career for a student?
Well, I think there are different strategies work for different students, but I think the primary focus should be setting priority or setting a priority on what a student thinks he or she wants to do most, and then establishing several options just in case the one thing that you'd really like to do just doesn't pan out for you. I had an experience some years ago with a very bright student that I taught who came from Birmingham, Alabama. He graduated with a very high grade point average and with the expectation that he would go to medical school. And so he took the medical aptitude test, the MCAT as it's called, and then began his interviews and learned something that I don't think he knew about himself, and that was he didn't really want to be a doctor because he wanted to be a doctor. He wanted to be a doctor because other people had told him he should be a doctor. And I think it created a tremendous problem for him with his interviews, and as a consequence, I don't think he really convinced the people who interviewed him that he really wanted to be a doctor. The final analysis was he was not selected for any medical school in the first year that he interviewed, and 5 years later he still had never been selected. And I think it became very clear to him that he had misjudged what he thought he wanted to do, and then found out that it wasn't really what he wanted to do, it's what other people had told him he should do. The last time I talked to him, he was, interestingly enough, a minister of a Baptist church. And so I think what it says to you is that you really should have options. You should set a priority, but then you should look at several options just in case the one thing that you think that you might want to do just doesn't pan out for you.
Ms. Barnes, if a student came to you and said, hey, you know, what's the hardest obstacle you face while pursuing your education as a professional, what would you tell them?
I think for me, the hardest obstacle was learning how to focus and learning how to study. When I was in high school, I breezed through everything, got straight A's, and I didn't have to study. All I did was the classwork, the homework, you know, the drills the next morning, and I got it. When I got to college, it's a totally different level. It's a different setting. It's a different responsibility, and I didn't have that discipline to stay focused and study. And I had a full scholarship here in Morgan, which I'm ashamed but also proud to say I lost my full scholarship to warn others not to do the same things that I did, to take it seriously and to really focus and hunker down. It's only a couple years that you're in college. Make them, you know, the best years, put the best effort into it. And so I had to learn to study. I developed study groups with classmates of mine. I had to learn, just like the math professor said, you have to practice solving problems. You have to, you know, get into the habit of doing these things over and over again. And for me, repetition was the key to keep on doing it, and that helped me to solve it and to get it in my mind. I'm the type of person I have to do it a couple of times in order for me to learn it. And so really to focus and to be disciplined and not to be lazy, but to really truly put myself into it, and especially because eventually I had to pay for my own education. So when it's coming out of your pocket, you're going to be serious about it, and you're not going to waste your money. So that's really what was the hardest thing that I faced, you know, as a challenge. Just getting my degree and even, you know, in work, you definitely have to be focused and disciplined. So
This question is addressed to the panel. Given that research has shown that there is a disparity between the retention rates and graduation rates of African Americans and other ethnic groups, how would you resolve this issue? Any one of you in any order can answer that question. How would you resolve that issue? We're not graduating at higher rates than other ethnic groups.
Well, if I might start, by my assessment, and I've been working in this area for a number of years, I find, and particularly because at Howard University I teach an introductory level course, the one thing that I'm finding more evident each year is students are coming to college less and less prepared for college. And so it seems very clear to me that there's a need for some intense effort in the secondary school system to better prepare students for college. One of the things we're told that can ameliorate the situation is by having students go to community colleges. I think that's a good idea, and I think because it's such a good idea, our President Barack Obama designated $5 billion to be spent on community college education for two reasons. First, he makes the point that it helps better prepare a number of students whose backgrounds aren't as strong as they might be by getting a 2-year associate degree and then applying it towards a 4-year degree and therefore earning a bachelor's degree. But it also identifies a number of students who really are not interested in having a 4-year bachelor's degree, and what it does for them is to provide them technical training so that they will have skills in modern technological areas in which we can use that kind of skill in the labor force. So my point is we need to do two things. We need to be trying to better prepare students in their leaving high school, and in addition to that, we ought to encourage a number of them whom we discern not being completely ready to try the community college system as an interim method of strengthening their background before they attempt to go to the 4-year college system.
Just to follow on with the good doctor pointed out, is that yes, we do have students who aren't quite prepared, but some of them do end up on our doorsteps. And when they do come to institutions, I think one way that I would address the problem is that we do take the students where they are, but we also have to retrain some faculty to see the students where they are, take them where they are, motivate the students to overcome those obstacles, because quite frankly, I don't think it's all of the students' fault as they go through these K-12 and K-16 systems, because it's just the way the education system is designed and set up. And you know, I'm a product of that in the sense that I came through a K-12 system, and quite frankly wasn't the best student coming through the system. However, I was able to obtain a PhD. And I look at it from the point of view of retraining faculty as well, in the sense to get those students that do get through the particular pipeline and then find themselves in a higher education environment, and then it's like, well, how do I get through? And you know, Morgan State University, we are the University of Maryland for taking students that necessarily may not have the high SATs, but however they end up on our campus. And I think that the next step, if I could contribute to that, would be to establish workshops where teachers and faculty would be mentored on how to reach those students.
I agree with both doctors in that perspective. I also think that support, strong support and encouragement coming from the family and the home is also very important when it comes to retention. I came through the public school system as well, went to a large college, a 4-year university, did not make that stop at a 2-year college, was a pretty good student coming through school. My parents had a lot of confidence in me, so they sent me, and you know, they figured everything's going to be fine. I just recall times when after a test, whether I got a good grade or not, I know I just got an A or I got a B, and, you move on, but I recall students in the same class who'd be like, "Ooh, I got an A, I'm going to call my mom," like, my parents wouldn't expect that call. They kind of expect that A, but they would not necessarily expect that call. So they were supportive, but in a different way, and I think the students who get that more verbal support, that seems to mean something to them on that big campus, and might give them a little more wind beneath their wings.
I agree with what everyone else said. And just piggybacking on what she said, I think it definitely starts with family. We have to reach out to parents, especially parents in disadvantaged groups, where they can understand what are the steps to pursuing a college education, what are the steps to attending the better schools. There are grants out there, there are programs out there that can put your children in a place to be able to achieve at a high level. And I know when I was growing up, my mother didn't graduate college. She didn't go to college after high school, and there was no option for us. We thought college was immediately what you did after high school, period. But that's what my mother mandated. And even when I was in school and I was frustrated and I wanted to quit, she said, "No, you're going to stay here and you're going to finish it out." And I'm so grateful that she made me do that. But when you have a parent that's backing you up and almost dictating to you that you're going to get your degree and you're going to focus and you're going to be successful, that was tremendous for me. So I think encouraging parents and giving them education and keys to be able to provide what they need for their kids, or at least push them in the right direction, I think that's definitely needed in order to help retention and to get kids to college.
Can I add one thing? Just one small thing. And she eloquently pointed it out, but it also could be a brother, a sister, a grandmother, a grandfather, a cousin, an aunt, or even a neighbor. So I just wanted to add that point for the students out there, that there are a lot of other support mechanisms, and you just have to seek them out. And sometimes you don't have to seek them out. They will reveal themselves to you. So just be open about that.
The next question to the panel is, give some suggestions on how to increase African American students' interest in degrees and careers in areas related to science, technology, engineering, and math. Don't be shy.
Well, I'll just say for math, one thing that, one way of making it interesting is to see it as something real and relevant and to your own experience. If you can visualize that it's useful and it's real and it's relevant, then it seems to me, at least for me, that's one way I was able to get through abstract mathematics, something that's a bunch of symbols and a lot of weird logic behind it, where you have to focus in on and challenge yourself to say, okay, is this useful? Yes, it's useful. Does it come up in the real world? Yes, it comes up in the real world. And when you get to that particular stage, I think that will help with answering the question. What was the question again?
Sure. The question again was, give suggestions on how to increase African American students' interest in degrees and careers in areas related to science, technology, engineering.
Yes, relevance. That's what I'll leave.
Okay.
I agree with the doctor. Definitely giving real life examples. If you're in school and you have a project that says, this needs to be improved this way, or this is how you can apply this to do this, it's much more relatable to students when they can do hands-on learning. And then you wonder, well, how do I get to that point? Well, then you'd have to take math or science or something of that nature. I know there are definitely a lot of programs out there like MESA and things of that nature that get you started early on in that. So again, I think educating family and parents, especially to let them know what's out there so that kids can be exposed, and also seeing people like ourselves. I never saw an engineer when I was growing up. I didn't know who an engineer would be or what they were. I didn't see biologists come out to me. I didn't see mathematicians come and say, hey, this is who I am. Maybe the closest thing for me was on a different world when Dwayne, one of the characters was studying to be an engineer. So being able to, once you have made it, to reach back into the community and show others, what you can be to be successful, that's definitely a way to reach out and to encourage them to get degrees. And just the rates and things that you can do with a degree in science and math and technology, it's amazing, and you can have a pretty comfortable lifestyle depending on which area you want to go into. So I think just real life examples.
The best suggestion that I have in enhancing the number of particularly minorities who can and would take an interest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics is by those of us in the areas doing everything possible to eliminate this mystique that these areas are more difficult than other areas. I find a number of students, in fact, over the years, I found that more and more students at Howard University are coming to take my introductory biology course from areas like business and engineering, because they have heard from other students that I insist that biology is no more difficult than history or mathematics or English or anything else. The only thing that one has to do is to focus, to put one's attention to the task before them and get it done. Many students tell me, particularly since I teach an introductory level course, that they have been told in high school where they've come from that science and math are supposed to be difficult, that only the brightest of kids are supposed to be able to, in some way, decipher this mystique of math and science. And I tell them, that's ridiculous. They just stay in my class and you'll see how simple and easy it is. And sure enough, by the end of the semester, I find a number of students who tell me, well, it wasn't quite as hard as I thought it was. It wasn't exactly easy, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it was. And it's because you, along the way, gave us various suggestions on how to do things more effectively, more efficiently. Of course, I should point out, I can't take all the credit because in my course, I make sure that I have a group of tutors, peer tutors, whom the students can go to see and at the peer level discuss with them the problem that they're having, and they can work it out. And as a consequence, their performances tend to be better than they might ordinarily be. And so I think getting rid of this mystique that somehow or another science and math and engineering and technology are beyond the comprehension of average people, whatever that means, I think is unrealistic, and I think that's one of the ways that we can get more students to take an interest in science and mathematics. I have another solution before I pass the mic, and that is this. One of the things that I always talk to students about is reading. Reading is what gives you enlightenment beyond your years. And I began reading about science when I was 14 years old, or a little bit earlier. And one of the things that I chose, and I brought my prop, I chose a magazine called Scientific American. Scientific American is written so that students in junior high and high school can understand. And one of the things that was most interesting for me in high school was, they used to, but they don't do it anymore. I don't know why. Every issue of Scientific American had a mathematics problem of some sort in it. Now, I didn't realize what was happening to me at the time, but now what I'm told is that was developing my skills in problem solving and analysis. I didn't know that. I just knew that I was having fun with all of these math problems, each issue, and I want to assure you, my parents could not afford a subscription, so I didn't read it at home. I read it at the library. I went to the library to read it. And it's something that still can be done because there's still subscriptions in the library. But I think one of the things that can really get students excited about science and mathematics is by reading, because it makes you familiar with what's going on in the world of science and technology in the present time.
And I would only add, in addition to what's already been said, is just I'd like to see an increase in individual and more specific career awareness in the schools prior to students showing up on the college campus. Students hear about the titles and the names of the different career choices, but don't always realize what actually happens on a daily basis for someone who works in that particular career field. And also, programs such as this, Pursuing a Dream Corporation, definitely increases awareness. College tours and things like that, I think, would definitely increase awareness of our African-American students in these fields.
We just have a few more questions for our panelists. This question is directed to Dr. Gordon and Mrs. Green. Define the term leader and give examples.
Ladies first.
Okay, what is a leader? A leader, I believe, is someone who takes the initiative. They are visionaries. They know how to take charge. They know how to look at the gifts and skills of those on their team in order to determine who to divide certain responsibilities out to. A leader may or may not have formal authority. I think that's a very, very important point when it comes to learning how to really lead, because sometimes you're in a leadership role but you're not the boss, so you don't have to be the boss to be a leader on a particular project and to be effective. Also, always remember that a leader is first a servant.
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't think you really have to define what a leader is to students. I think most students know who a leader is because it's the person who does more than talk about things. It's the person who does it. The person who takes, as my colleague said, the initiative in setting the example of how things should be done, particularly when such a person sets as his or her goal doing things as well as they can possibly be done. Now that's leadership. A number of people talk a good talk, but when it comes time to getting things done, they come up a whole lot short of all of the verbiage that they presented. I've said over my years of teaching, which is actually 34 at Howard University, I've noticed that students typically gravitate to the ones that they know are really able and capable. Now, what is always amazing to me is that person is not always the person who talks a lot. In my laboratories, we teach general biology laboratories. One can sit and watch when the groups are doing laboratory exercises, the student in the group that the others will gravitate toward in conducting the exercise. Now, you can sit and very easily watch that and say to yourself, well, there's the leader of that group. And it's absolutely true. Because when you make an assessment of which student in that group is performing best, almost invariably it is that person who is showing that kind of initiative and leadership in doing things. So leadership usually presents itself to people, and most of the time all you really need to do is to keep your eyes and ears open, as my father used to say, and your mouth shut, and you will definitely learn something from someone who knows more than you do.
This is the last question. This is addressed to Dr. Nwanta and Ms. Barnes. How can students' participation in leadership activities, such as student government, social organizations, and even environmental causes be increased.
I think encouragement within the school, inviting students out, all of those activities listed, like student government or social organizations or things of that nature, they take courage to step out to do, and there are people in charge of that who can recruit those who are able, who have the talents to participate in those. And you can also do behind the scenes work. You don't have to be the front runner. You don't have to be the person who's representing it, in face. You could be a back behind the scenes type of person. I think encouragement from teachers, encouragement from family, and especially parents. And personally, I had my sister, who's older than me, tell me, you need to get involved in this and this and this, because when you're trying to get into college, you need to be more well-rounded. They need to see that you can do more than just study and go to school and get grades. They need to see that you can do these things. Step out of your shell, step out of the box, and do something that's interesting to you. Find out what your talents are, and pursue something that would allow you to learn and to be exposed to others, and being a leader right where you are. Like the panelists said, being a leader right where you are is involved. It involves just doing the right thing and not talking about it, but being about it. Really walking that walk and doing what you need to do. And I think just having a desire to do something positive, having a desire to influence your community, just going out there getting mentors, just going and saying, hey, Mr. So-and-so, the leader of this organization, tell me how you do this. Can I shadow you for a day? Can I see what you do? What have you done? So many community projects and programs. Just go up to the person in charge and kind of ask them, be inquisitive, and just kind of sample and see what people say, and try to do things within your own right, within your own. Start where you are now. You don't have to go out and have it to be, a large scale thing. You can start within your own community, being a leader, and and then getting involved in organizations that are official, at school, maybe SGA or some kind of community organization. But just search for things. There are definitely things out there. Search for things, maybe on the internet, or parents can get their children involved so that you can learn what other leaders have done to get where they are and how they've started. But again, it starts with you where you are now. So just determining yourself that you want to make a difference, determining yourself that you want to help people to get to that better place, and you are a leader right there, and act on it, and you are a leader. And then, take your talents and abilities and take it to a formal organization where you can be used.
Yes, I would just add to what's already been said, is that, and this has been said, but I'll say it a little differently, exposure to these particular activities, the clubs in high school. Get involved with your clubs. Get involved with clubs in your church, your community center. I think if this information is made more available to students, then I think that would help increase the number of students that would get involved in leadership activities. Because it's a lot of times I encounter students that don't know a lot about conferences or workshops that are going on. So we as the leaders, so-called leaders, or leaders as teachers and parents and faculty members, by exposing the information to our children, I think will help increase the numbers. And I think this program is an example of that, of putting up together this panel and putting out this information. So exposure, I would say.
Is there any last remarks any panelists would like to make?
Yeah. I'd like to speak to one of the issues that we haven't touched upon, which I think is a major obstacle for a lot of students going to college in particular, and also pursuing areas of science as their career. The bottom line is very often, where's the money going to come from? Yeah? And I find it, I can understand very clearly why that's a problem, because I came from myself a background where my parents could not afford to send me to college, and I had the good fortune to win a scholarship. And so very often I talk to students who come to college and their parents are struggling to foot the bill to get them through college. And so I tell them very clearly and very candidly, you should be helping your parents. And they'll very often ask, well, what can I do? And I said, you can look for scholarships. Don't you know that you can go online and find various scholarships where all you have to do is write an essay and you could end up getting a $500 scholarship? I said, $500 is $500. You can spend it to buy books, and that'll help your parents immensely. In fact, I had the good fortune of helping a young lady whose parents were struggling to try to keep her in school, and I told her to go online and look for a scholarship, and she found one and did exactly what I suggested. She had to write an essay. They gave her $3,000, and the $3,000 kept her in school that year, because that was about how much her parents were short in trying to provide the monies, the resources for her tuition and fees. So money doesn't necessarily have to be the obstacle that you think it is, if you put in the work of looking around to find the various kinds of resources that might be available to you. Now, to be sure, some of it may have to be loans. And so you do the application process and you do it on time. But by and large, I think if you really put your mind to it and really are sincere about going to college, you can find the monies, you can find the resources to get it done, even if you have to do it year after year after year until you get finished. Would you like?
Yes, I would just like to say that be confident. You can do it.
Yeah.
Be very confident, because if you have a doubt in your mind about doing anything, then it's going to be that much more challenging for you. So I would suggest that you be confident, and that you always think of that when in a difficult situation, that I can get past this obstacle, because there are going to be obstacles, there's no doubt about that, and every one of us on this panel, we've gone through some of those obstacles, and I would just say be confident, because you can do it. I'm sorry.
And I would say be true to yourself, similar to what has already been said. Always be true to yourself, know yourself, be able to define yourself, sit and think about who you are, because other people will tell you who they think you are. You have to know who you are and stand firm in that. And then sometimes people will tell you things that will lead you to a greater opportunity that you did not think was there for you. And you maybe took that chance because they said so. But if you're already true to yourself and you know that you can go for it, just go for it and see how far it takes you. It'll be beyond what you could ever imagine.
Definitely echo what the panelists said. Always try your hardest. Always give your best. You won't have regrets if you give it your best. You know that you walked away doing what you could, and the rest is just left, to sort itself out. But I definitely agree with what the panelists said, and just envision yourself successful. When you envision yourself doing well prior to actually doing it, there's a greater chance that you're going to do well. So envision yourself successful. See yourself as a graduate. See yourself graduated with honors. See yourself successfully passing that class, even as something as simple as passing a test. See yourself doing it, and put in the hard work. Don't be lazy. You have to discipline yourself, and you have to work hard, and it'll pay off in the end. But definitely work hard, strive for your best, and definitely envision success.
Any other final remarks? Okay. This has been a wonderful event. I'd like to thank our panelists for taking a break from their careers to come out on a Saturday to join us. I want to thank Morgan State University for allowing us to host our venue. I want to thank Tanisha Johnson, our camera person, for being here as well as parents, students, and those even that join us via the internet watching this. Again, our aim is to get more African American students involved in STEM. We want and we would like to see more graduation rates. We would like to see more doctors. We would like to see more everything. We just want students to be more involved, more informed. With that being said, thank you.